Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you are in the world. My name is Michelle Clark. I am the Chief Partnerships Officer for Genius Group, and I'm in Preston in the UK. It's a beautiful sunny morning, and I'm super excited because this is day one of our super awesome 5-day, $50,000 global educator challenge. And we're going to be joined by a super special guest, Roger Hamilton, who's going to be joining me in a moment. So look, if you have just joined us, I've got my phone here, so I'm checking the comments at the same time. Do me a favor, drop in to the live where you're dialing in from. I'd love to know who is here with me on the live right now. Maybe you're watching the live right now. Maybe you're catching up on the recording, but drop a comment in. Let us know where you're dialing in from. And by the way, we're going to be in there with all the chat, all the conversations, all the questions. We'll be dropping the links in there as well. The team are also in the chat today, catching up with you. So do be in the chat. Let us know where you're dialing in from. So it is day one of the 5-day challenge. Let me tell you a little bit about the 5-day challenge and who we have got coming up. So if you are just seeing this live right now, because you happen to be in the Facebook group and you haven't yet registered, we'll drop the link in here so you can actually register, because you're probably going to want to make sure you're getting all the information about the 5-day challenge, because we've got some very awesome prizes. In fact, we've got over $50,000 worth of prizes just for showing up and being part of the challenge and putting your submissions in this week. So I'm going to be telling you a little bit about that. So here's our lineup for the 5-day challenge. So we've got day one, which is today, which is all about the future of education. So super excited. We're going to have Roger joining us, where he's going to be really sharing, like, why are we even having this challenge right now? Why are we having the Global Education Summit this week? What is happening with education? What is this major disruption that is taking place for all of us who are coaches, trainers, mentors, speakers, educators, building community, or maybe you haven't even decided yet and you want to set up your own business. What is happening right now, and how can we take advantage of this massive shift as part of the education revolution? Day two tomorrow, we're joined by Suraj Naik, the Chief Marketing Officer for Genius Group. He's going to be showing how you actually build a really purpose-driven, trusted community. How do you have people who show up as your brand advocates, like really promoting everything that you're doing, highly aligned to everything on your purpose and your mission? And Suraj knows a lot about this. He has thousands of people that he is setting up and registering for our events all the time. Daniel Priestley from Dent is going to join us on day 3. Daniel has a super awesome business where he is helping educators all around the world to put together really amazing businesses that are just growing all the time. And he has this super cool system where just week after week after week, he just has prospects lining up to do business with him. It's called his oversubscribed method, and he is always oversubscribed. There's always a queue of people wanting to do business with him. So he's going to be coming and sharing how do you do that as an educator as well. Niraj Shah is joining us on day 4. Niraj is the founder of Titan Masterminds, and Niraj was the person who started BNI in India. It became the largest BNI network in the entire world. So he's going to be sharing how do you build a community plan to make sure that you're actually growing your business and showing you a way that you can double your turnover in the next 12 months just by building a community, not even needing to have a product or a service out there. And then on day 5, I'll be sharing about the Education 5.0 plan. How do you actually create out a curriculum? How do you help learners to really learn in a very personalized way, using all the tools that we use here in Genius Group for people to stay in flow? So a really awesome, cool 5 days coming up. So if you haven't yet registered, do make sure you've registered, because you're going to definitely want to be a part of all of the submissions that are happening as well. So here we go. This is me, Michelle Clark, your host. As I said, we've got some pretty amazing prizes on offer as well. Some of you have done our 5-day challenges before. So if you've been on a 5-day challenge before, you know that the whole point of the challenge is we want you to learn, we want you to get a heap of value, and we want you to actually take some action during this week and get yourself to your own $50,000 turnover as well. So it is $50,000 worth of prizes there, and the way that you get to win your prizes is by completing the submissions at the end of the week. I'm going to show you how you do that. We're going to get you onto Genius U, where you can complete the actual micro degree. All of this content is saved obviously in the Facebook group, so you can watch the recordings, but also we save it in Genius U, where you can come back time after time and access each of those days' recordings. But more importantly, you can access the slides and upload them as well. So over these 5 days, you're going to be completing your own educator plan when you're hearing from all the speakers, hearing from all the mentors. You can drop your questions in the chat as well. The first prize we have on offer is a year of mentoring on our Crystal Circle group, which is worth over $18,000. And we're going to give away a free prize to our micro school, which is coming up as well in the next few weeks. So whether you are building an education business or a community business, you can come and join that micro school as well. We got some second place prizes for people. We got our Wealth Dynamics Masters program, which is worth $3,500. We do that virtually in October. It's a 5-day micro school, super awesome program. And we also have got places, as I said, on the Educator and Community Micro School. And third prize for someone to win another place on our micro school as well. However, this time we've actually got some additional prizes. So we always have our first, second, and third prizes. This time we've decided to put in some runner-up prizes as well. So these prizes are only available if you're actually putting in your submissions, by the way. So we do want to see your slides. We do want to see what you have been learning over the week. We've got 50 runner-up prizes. We run a program called Founders Roundtable Mentoring. We charge $270 normally for this mentoring session. It's 4 people at a time getting mentored by one of our 3 top mentors. We've got Donna Isabella, who's our head coach. We've got Michelle Nalting, who's our head of partnerships, and myself, Michelle Clark, who's the chief partnerships officer for the group. And we run these mentoring sessions with 4 businesses at a time. We will go through your slides and in 90 minutes give you a super high impact mentoring session that will align your plan with your purpose and your mission and help you to see exactly how you're going to generate that revenue and grow your business in the next 12 months, knowing exactly the right next steps to be taking as well. So lots of opportunities to be winning. So make sure you are in it to win it. This is the micro degree. So this is where the team are going to be posting all these links in the chat. So don't worry. And we'll make sure that we're getting this out to you on the email as well. But this is our micro degree here on Genius U. It's a 5-day 50K education challenge. You're going to see you've got your mentor here is Michelle. So there's no steps in here yet because today is day 1. By the end of the day, the team will have uploaded the recording from here today. You'll be able to access Roger's slides. You'll be able to access everything he shared today as well. So all you need to do when you come into the micro degree is click start, and all of the instructions are going to be in there. You'll see already when I click on the start button here, it takes me right through to day 1. I can see that today is Roger. I can see here's today's slides, and I can access the submission template as well. And it just says here, all you need to do is make a copy. So I just make a copy here. And hey presto, it will create for me my own Google template slide. There you go. So I can now name this, put my own name on here. And here is the slide template that you can see we're going to be going through with the 10 steps to the 50K. So we're going to be taking you through this over the next 5 days. So do go in, do register on the micro degree, do make a copy of the submissions for yourself. And as we go through these 5 days, you'll be having the opportunity to fill these in, making them super personalized. You can make them super colorful, put in some great pictures. We love to see really awesome, cool slides, and we'll be sharing some examples of some slides as we go through this week as well. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our speaker for today. I think many of you will know Roger because you've been here in our group before. You've probably been on one of our challenges before or joined us on a webinar. For those of you who haven't met him before, Roger is the founder of the Genius Group. He also created the Wealth Dynamics and Talent Dynamics profile test, which has been taken by literally hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs all around the world now. He's a New York Times best-selling author. He's a futurist and he's an educator. And I know that for Roger, education is the most important thing that he is passionate about and purposeful about. So I'm super excited because as a futurist, he is going to be sharing with us now what is going to be happening with the future of education and why we all need to be part of this challenge this week. So morning to you, Roger, in Poland. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How's it all going with you, Michelle?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. It's good to have you with us today.
Yeah, very excited. I think it's going to be a great week.
It's going to be a cool week. So look, I'm going to hand over to you, Roger. I'm going to be here. So whenever you want to call on me, just let me know. I'll unmute and turn my camera back on. But sure. I'm going to hand over to you and see what's going on in the chat as well with everyone today.
Brilliant. All right. Thank you, Michelle. And thank you, everyone, for coming and joining us today as well. Yeah, I will bring Michelle back on in a little bit. But let me start by just sharing my screen here. And to just show you what I'm looking at the moment, I'm going to go through some slides and talk about the future of education and how what we're doing this week relates to the next 10 years. Whatever kind of education business you have, whether you're a speaker, whether you're a trainer, whether you're a coach, whether you're a teacher, like whatever it is you are doing, if you're doing something which is inspiring and informing people in one form or another, then you're an educator. And you'll see that here within our entrepreneur group, this is where everyone is posting at the moment. So we can see there's a whole bunch of people who've joined us right now live. So hi, everyone. I'm actually going to post down here as well. Hi from Poland. Where are you in the world right now? Would love to see where you're all from. And at the same time, and I'm also going to say this is my 4th challenge, right? Because we actually run a challenge every 3 months. I'd love to know, is this your first challenge, your second challenge? Like, you know, where are you in the challenges? And this is the first educator challenge we're doing. We did an investor challenge just 3 months ago. So we're going to be doing an entrepreneur challenge in 3 months' time. But every single 3 months, we have a whole festival. And this is our educator festival that's taking place right now. So hi from Scotland, from Bedfordshire, from Ontario. Wow. Okay, Kyla is up early in the morning, her time. We have Thomas from Poland as well. That's very cool. And they're all popping in now. So good to see you all. Great to see some of you super early in the morning in the US right now as well. And fantastic to see some of you from all over, from Asia, from Europe. And so it goes on, right? I'm not going to keep reading that because I will come back to it later. All of those comments also get collected. And I know some of you aren't actually watching live. You're watching the replay through the day as well. So do post as well, because we'd love to hear from you. And as you're posting, and as we start this, really want everyone to be thinking just how much the world has changed over the last year, and knowing it's not going to slow down. Like, you know, what happens post-pandemic? And obviously we're not quite out of it yet, but what happens over the coming year and people's behaviors, they've transformed massively. And whether or not you're in primary, secondary school education, whether or not you're somebody who is in adult education, whatever it is that you're doing, you 100% would have seen a massive change in people's behaviors. Number one, in terms of how much people want to learn and reskill themselves, knowing that they can't just rely on the old habits and old ways they had. Number two, in the forms of education, where if before you were just meeting people face to face, there's a very good chance you're now doing it online, and you're, as a result of that, doing it globally as well. And number three, the topics of education, right? Like before, most people were focused very much at what was going to help them to get a job, or what was going to help them to build their business, or what was going to help them, you know, to get their certification. That's all changed massively, where we all have actually got much more connected to why are we here? What's my purpose? What's my passion? And then from there, had all sorts of new ways that we've been looking at how we educate ourselves in different areas. And we've just turned into much, much more of a learning community globally as well. And many more people have got into education too. So that is a good thing, because it means there's lots more opportunity. It's also a bad thing, because it means there's a whole lot more competition as well. So what we're going to go through in the next 5 days is, what are the steps to be an educator 5.0, not 4.0, but 5.0. I'm going to share with you exactly what that means, but not before I go through just the context of this revolution that we're part of right now. We were talking about this coming some time back, the education revolution. We are now right in the middle of it. There was a time when people were saying that eventually the school system would need to change. Well, the school's been shut down. There was a time when people were saying, you know, you wouldn't need to get a university degree. Well, now we're actually seeing a lot of universities suffering, and a lot of them putting their degrees now online, so they're much more accessible. You know, there's a time when people were saying jobs that were there would no longer exist. Well, we saw just how many people lost jobs in the last year. And now there's articles out about people who are actually quitting their job because they realize it's not the kind of job they actually want in the first place. So there's this huge shift that's taking place like we haven't seen in decades. And this education revolution we're talking about is not about any one particular sector. This here is coming straight from HolloIQ, which is the top research agency for education worldwide. And some of you who are our investors in Genius Group would have seen this slide before. Basically, it's a $10 trillion market on all education, from pre-K all the way through to primary, secondary, all the way through to adult education, corporate training. You can see all of it here, right? Like a $10 trillion market by 2030. And you can see just how much it's growing every single year right now as well. So if you're in this market, this is the biggest market, right, for disruption right now. And whether or not you're building a $1 billion education company, or whether or not you're actually just, you know, mentoring 10, 20 people, you're in this space and you're actually taking a piece of this pie. And what's really exciting about what I'm about to share with you is how you can go about doing it far more effectively than you were doing it before. I'm going to go through not just the reasons why this is happening and what the future of education is going to look like, but also how you apply all of this in a very systematic way, which ensures that you're not just getting results like in the next couple of months, but you're actually getting results within even this week, right? Like how quickly you can start moving forward by understanding these steps as we go through this as well. And I do want to say this as well. I'm going to start with 12 ways that education is already changing. This is something which is also part of our festival, the Global Education Summit, which is happening, as you can see, after this challenge is over, right? So it's in 10 days from now. And would love all of you come join us. I know many of you are already. And we have some of the leading lights in education who are going to be sharing about their manifestos, their plans for the future. So many of you would have heard of Salman Khan from Khan Academy. He now has over 100 million students on Khan Academy right now. And he started that way before the pandemic, but he's seen a massive growth during the pandemic as well. And he wrote a book, which is all about the One World Schoolhouse, which was predicting that this was going to be coming. So we're going to be talking with Salman Khan. Seth Godin, I'm going to also be interviewing Seth Godin. And Seth Godin actually put a manifesto together way back in 2012, so almost like 10 years ago. And he put a manifesto together about the future of education. And so we're going to be talking about his manifesto and how much has actually changed. It's actually called Stop Stealing Dreams, What is School For? And he very kindly has given a link so that you can actually have this for free. I'm actually going to take this link and I'm going to just post it down here. Seth's, let me see, here we go, Seth's manifesto. And what is so amazing about the manifesto is he's actually broken down in over 100 key points what is wrong with the old education system and what needs to change. And in this, when he wrote this, this was just when Khan Academy was started. It was before companies like Coursera had started. It was before we'd even launched Genius Group, that we have right now. And it's a really, really powerful manifesto about what needs to change and also what works in the old system that we need to actually be doing more of as well. And there's one aspect here, which I'm going to get to, which is 17, Reinventing School. He actually did a TED talk of this on the 12 things that he believes would change in education for the future. And when I interview him, we're going to be going through just how much these things have all started coming true now. In fact, within Genius Group, a lot of these things we adopted within Genius Group. So I'm going to be able to show you how this actually links in with what we do, but also compare this to what you do right now and to what extent are you actually following the biggest trends of what's taking place. So let's have a look and see, well, what's in this list right now. I've actually put it on this slide here, and it's super powerful when you actually realize this is almost the opposite of what the existing education system does. So the first one here, homework during the day, lectures at night, was basically straight out of Salman Khan's book, where Salman Khan said, you know, there was a time where you would go to a school and just listen to a teacher basically lecture you, right? Say, here's information. And it was always done like, you know, in like, single dimensional, it would be you just sitting there going at that pace. And then he found that when he started doing his Khan Academy videos, that the teachers were saying, actually, we're not going to teach you how to do this. You're going to go watch the Khan Academy video. And once you've actually watched that and got the information, well, then when you come into the class tomorrow, we're going to actually go through the exercises together. So the teacher changes from being someone who's just relaying information to someone who now is facilitating the whole process of learning. And if you're not doing that right now, now's the time to be doing that. Don't think you can just make money by going out there doing YouTube videos or going out there giving free content. There has to be an element of how you're going about mentoring others along the way as well. We do that during this challenge because you'll see as we go through this, there's actually the chance to interact with everyone. We do it for our micro schools where we actually have facilitators that then work with each of the different students that are part of it as well. We do it in our sessions like the Founders Roundtable that you heard Michelle just talk about, where we're actually having an interaction to say, well, that's great that you know the information, but how do you personalize it for yourself? And that's all about this whole idea, homework during the day, lectures at night, you're getting guidance and mentoring at every step of the way. Second one, open book, open note all the time. I'm not going to go through all 12 of these. I'm just going to pick out a few of different ones. But this one here is about like, this is gone are the times when everyone should be hiding their work from each other. Gone are the times when we should all be doing an exam and we don't even get to see the results of the exam other than just getting a mark. We don't see why other people got better results than us or not. In our case here, we've actually got, as you can see, this competition going on where everybody gets to share their templates and we get to share the top templates with everybody. So you get to learn regardless of whether or not you win, because you're actually seeing what is it that makes something better than what someone else is doing. And then you can then borrow from those templates as well. So this whole idea here about everyone learning from everyone is super, super powerful. And we're seeing this happen more and more. Not all edtech companies do this. If you go onto something like Coursera, if you go onto something like Udemy, you don't get to see everyone else and what their work is. With Genius U, we actually do that. And I'm going to take just two more here. This one here, experience instead of test scores as a measure of achievement. A huge part of our whole way of learning is how are we providing an experience? How do we actually make the student a customer versus just someone who's going through a sausage machine? How do we make sure that every single person is actually coming out the other end saying, wow, I had a transformation rather than just a transactional education? And then the final thing that I want to share here is this whole idea of transformation being the role of the teacher. We're seeing this happen across every single different area, from being a real estate agent through to being a travel agent. And now at the point of teachers themselves, where we used to be transactional, which meant we were just passing information along, versus transformational, which is no longer about information, it's now about inspiration. And so be thinking, well, how much am I actually doing that now where I'm inspiring others? And if I learn the ways to scale this such that I'm able to reach many more people, and at the same time, still make it personalized as well. What am I personalizing? What am I productizing? Which means what am I doing which is individual to each person? And what am I doing which is the same for each person? And if you don't really break that down in your education, you can never grow. So there's more here, and you can see them here, and you can actually go through each one and say, to what extent am I actually following these or not in the way that I am actually building my education system, or even the way that you're building your community as well. All right, so from here, let me just share a couple of key additional thoughts, not on what the problems are, but what the solutions are and what the solutions can look like. And for those of you who are new to GeniusU, there is here a number of slides which actually come straight from our investor deck. Many of you know that we have some very exciting investment news going on at the moment. We are in a quiet period at the moment with the SEC in the US, so we're not able to talk more about it at this point, but I'm very sure keep in contact with us through this whole year, and you'll be hearing about what our developments are and how we are growing GeniusU, Genius Group, why I'm moving to the US, where our base is going to then allow us to grow globally from 2.5 million students up to 100 million students in the coming years. And here we actually define even more clearly the problem that we actually have with education right now. And we don't have to just be the only ones defining this. We've got organizations like the World Economic Forum that put an entire white paper together, which is called Schools of the Future, where they said these are the 8 things that the future education system must have: global citizenship skills, innovation and creativity skills, technology skills, interpersonal skills, lifelong and student-driven learning, problem-based and collaborative learning, accessible and inclusive learning, and also personalized and self-paced learning. Right? And I'd actually go further and do exactly the same as what Salman Khan says, which is not just self-paced learning, it's self-placed learning, which means not just anytime, but also anywhere. And at your pace, and also at your location, wherever it is you want to be doing it, you can actually do it. And if you think about it that way, suddenly you end up going from one classroom to a global classroom, which is super exciting. And technology allows us to do this right now. And so we basically came up with a full solution, which is what you find on GeniusU now, which is not just having an edtech platform where you can then have Genie then guide you. And I want to share with you how this week you can really make the most of that platform, but also accredited courses, because we've now acquired a US university, which means we actually are going to be, by September, providing degree programs in entrepreneurship as well. A global faculty, as you're going to see today and this week, we have already got a global faculty that you're going to be learning from all around the world. Global community, 100%. One of the biggest things about our community is how much everyone is helping and supporting each other. Daily calendar, where everything is not just about what you can do whenever you want to do it, but what you can actually come and join live as well. And obviously this is all live right now. And also the 100-year curriculum, which is everything from 0 years old when you're first born, all the way through to 100 years old, a full lifelong curriculum, which allows you to take a step, every one of those steps. So there's a couple of slides here. If you don't know much about us, you can go look at these slides and get an idea of who we are and how we operate. But the biggest, simplest way to get the idea of how you can use GeniusU is actually just to go to GeniusU. So Michelle already has talked about getting onto GeniusU and going straight to the micro degree. So when you actually are on that micro degree, and when we go in this video a little bit later, we're going to go through exactly what is the template that you're going to complete. But you can see here that she was just showing this page, which is one of our micro degrees on here. And then from here, if I go next, I'm already getting taken to the page here, which is the future of education. This is today's session, where you can then download the slides and also access the submission template right from here. And when you click on that, it actually straight away takes you through to create a copy of the document. And you can then follow your progress as you go along. But the other thing you can do is you can see who else is actually in the community as well, right? Like when you're actually on here, it gives you the opportunity to see when you look at the top here, it's just got started with the first of the mentees because we're just inviting everyone in now. But by tomorrow, we're going to have a whole bunch more people. I mean, you can see we've now got 4 people in here. And by tomorrow, we're going to have many more. And you can then see who are the different people on here. What are they doing? Where are they in the world right now? And then from there, you can also see their progress and also their profile, which is super awesome. Now, if I just go straight to the GeniusU homepage, and if you're just coming on here for the first time, then there's a very good chance you're going to click on this button and you're going to be taken straight through a little quiz, which actually already gives you Genie Gems, which are our education credits, which you can then spend. This is worth $100 already, just by starting and going through the little entrepreneur quiz, and then it guides you through the steps to come into the platform. If I click here, this is actually because I'm already logged in. So this takes me straight to my Clearview. And as you can see here, when we talk about what is the philosophy of learning, which we believe that everyone should now be using, whether or not you're helping someone with their health, whether or not you're helping someone to get through their high school, whether you're helping someone to learn how to build their business, whatever it is that you're doing, we really believe that there are these 5 elements in our philosophy, which we call the CLEAR philosophy, to just take clear steps every day. And the CLEAR stands for connect, learn, earn, act, and review. So that's why you'll see that on your Clearview page, which is here, you've actually got a first section here, connect, which is like, what is the best communities to join? What is the best people to connect with, the best mentors to connect with? We start with connect, not with learn, but then from connect, you then get to the learn, which is one of the micro schools that you can be joining. How can you be earning? So there's always opportunities to be earning as well. What actions can you take? And then what should you be reviewing that you've already looked at or that people in your community have looked at recently? And so this allows you, you can see here, here's the Global Educator Challenge. It allows me to go straight back to it just because I've just been there recently. And you'll see also that if I want to be learning a whole bunch of other things, I can click on View All and I can see everything, or similarly with Connect. And I will then get all of the different circles that I can be connecting up with, all of the different mentors that I should be connecting up with, all organized from the point of view of which ones are most suitable or most connected to you as well. So our AI is already guiding the right information so you're not overwhelmed with, because obviously we have like millions of students on board and we've got thousands of mentors on board. You don't need to see all of them. Although if you want to, you can always click to view all, and you can actually go and search for mentors or whoever you'd like to find, or search for programs or whoever you'd like to find as well. So the great thing about this is that whether or not you want to be guided by our Genie, or whether or not you want to actually just go searching for yourself is totally up to you. But the great news is by having this entire community to support you in your entrepreneurship and in your growth, it gives you all of the tools that you actually need, just like having a Genie in your pocket, right? So that is the whole concept of GeniusU, and I really hope that you get as much benefit as everyone else who's on here is right now. Our Genie at the top here is already giving different suggestions on things that you can be doing as well. And if you just follow what the Genie says, then you're already every day going to have a new action that you can be taking as well. All right, so this is all things that are all part of our community right now. And just coming back here to the other slides you'll find on here, we do go through exactly how our curriculum works, as we do on our website as well. What is the unique difference of our curriculum compared to others out there too? And borrow as much of this as you need to or want to. And you're going to find out later in this week that even if you want to actually build your entire system and your entire business on GeniusU, it works just like Amazon, where, you know, if you're a retailer, you can put your shop on Amazon, and then from there you can have all of the shoppers on Amazon find your retail store. We're exactly the same, except it's now for education. So you can put your entire school on there with your events, with your micro schools, with your community. And then from there, basically people can find you quite easily. And we have got cities all over the world that we have got community partners with. And we similarly have got faculty all around the world that are finding all their business on GeniusU right now as well. So super exciting times, because now is the time for us to be thinking about Entrepreneur 5.0 and the way that we can then evolve and grow. And the final thing I want to share on here before I bring Michelle on is that a really critical part of this is knowing that there are now billion-dollar businesses that have grown up in the last 5 years within the education market, right? These are the ed tech companies that we're seeing out there. We ourselves have seen massive growth with our Genius Group, but we're seeing also other companies which are largely in Asia right now. Even though Coursera just had their IPO in America and they're an American company, they're worth about, at this point, around what, $6 billion, right? Like, so they're at a fraction of the value of the Asian companies, like Baidu, which is in India, is now worth over 12 billion. Yuan Fudao is now worth 15 billion. And these companies here, they're bigger not just because they have a bigger market, because most of these companies now are going international. They're also bigger because whereas something like Coursera is borrowing off other people's content, in the case of Baiju and Yuan Fudao, they're actually creating their own curriculum, which means that they're keeping much bigger share of the revenues they actually generate, which makes them much more valuable as well. Plus, they're actually providing a much more current curriculum, not just what the universities are providing right now. They're providing the curriculum which allows people to get jobs, the curriculum that is much more future focused, just like we do as well. And so you can learn so much from these different companies that already are understanding the behaviors of students right now. We're not all out there working on our own. And probably the most exciting thing on all of this is I've seen the entire personal development movement, which includes a lot of educators being on the peripheral or outside of the core education market. Plus, I've seen a lot of teachers who are amazing, but never actually generate a huge amount of money. They certainly don't make as much as many YouTubers because they don't have the leverage mechanisms to be able to teach many people at the same time. So they're still stuck in a class with 40 kids and they're not able to get their genius out to a wider audience. In our case, with Genius Group, we're very much like these organizations here. That every one of these, different from Coursera, where Coursera, if you haven't been to Coursera, it does have university degrees that you can do. So if I just open up Coursera here, you'll see that. But Coursera here is all fully online. It's high tech, but no high touch. You won't find any mentors or teachers on here to help you. Whereas if you go to Genius U or if you go to Baiju, then they all basically have mentors and an entire networking community of teachers around the world that can actually help people. And so as a result, they're growing much faster. So don't think that you should be doing everything totally online. Have the high touch part as well as the high tech to your company as well. A couple of examples, right, of basically how you can be totally transforming your business by using the tools that I'm going to share in the second half of this session. Here is Jonathan Boyd. He's based in the US. Jonathan, he's a guitar teacher. He created a pathway. I'm going to show you exactly how you create an Educator 5.0 pathway. And you can see here his link, Breakthrough Guitar. Michelle's looking around here at the moment. And he basically, when he first joined us, he was, this was about a year ago, he was just himself doing everything. And then from that, he then has built up an entire team. He's gone from $0 to $1 million plus. In fact, this year he's going to do more like $5 million. So he's like grown massively. He's got over 17,000 clients. And it's just by actually following the step-by-step process of how you actually start scaling up from building a community through to how you generate the sales. Another example of that in a totally different industry is Deb and Jeremy Harris. Now, many of you have met either Deborah because she's been a student in all of the micro schools this year, plus she's one of our partners in Australia, or you might have heard about Jeremy because he is the CFO who helped take our entrepreneur resorts company public, and right now is doing all the activity to take Genius Group to the next level as well. And what you're going to see here is that they totally changed their accounting company into a virtual CFO company called Grow CFO Co. And they went basically from their own 5-day challenge where they had 200 participants, profits were up 700%. And they've actually seen already this year, record after record during the pandemic. These are all pandemic stories, by the way. And this was all done virtually. So in all these cases, this is not by meeting people face to face. It's by building a high-tech, high-touch pathway and allowing you, and doing it quickly as well, and allowing you to then guide people through the steps of trust that are required to really build their own education side. And they also built an education part to the Grow CFO Co business so that those CEOs or even finance managers in the companies were learning new tools on how they can actually manage their financials far more effectively. And then third example, just because I want to give the fact that it's not all about one specific area. This is Moira, where all of her events were all online. Sorry, all her events to begin with were all offline. They've all gone online, and where she was very focused at actually helping people to be speakers and to actually be able to get onto stages. Now, that's not a great business to be in when no one is opening up their stages. And so she pivoted her entire business this time last year from being on the stage to being on a virtual stage. And she also pivoted it so that she actually created something called Secret Suppers, which became a virtual supper or dinner where you could all connect up and actually build a new community online. And she's now got all around the world these licensees, in fact, 14 facilitators now all around the world, and turn it into a global business. And in fact, when I first spoke to her, she was an island, and then she actually moved out to Bali. So again, the chance to actually live anywhere you want and be able to build your business by pivoting it to what's going to really work. And again, using exactly the same tools that we were just talking about with Jonathan and also with Deb and Jeremy. So I just want to bring on Michelle for a moment, because I think this is one of the most important things for anyone who's on here and maybe hearing about all this for the first time. You've been meeting with so many different people that have been going through the process and seeing the change. Whether it's about any of these guys here or any other that you'd want to mention, I'd love for you to share for anyone who's newer to this, what they can expect once they actually start putting these tools together.
Yeah, I mean, these are super stories. We've just got so many of them, Roger. Like, it's crazy because when the crisis first happened and we moved everything ourselves digitally from running all of our events around the world, everybody, all our partners and all our clients said, well, can you guys show us what you're doing? Because we want to be a part of this as well. And there's so many of our mentors, so many of our educators and trainers who've done this, all of whom now have got really successful businesses. I've actually put together, and I've shared this in the slide deck, Roger. Maybe I can just quickly show this.
Mm-hmm.
So I've put this into the slide deck. We've put some actual examples of some of our partners who are educators, who've actually run entire promotion plans where they've done full pivots. So this is Angie Stead. Angie's based over in New Zealand. She actually runs the Genius School. So Angie has got a series of preschools in New Zealand. And when the crisis came, the preschools were all shut down, right? So the kids weren't even allowed to go to school. And Angie had been talking to us for quite some time about getting Genius School set up, which was going to be a digital platform. And then she said, right, well, exactly, it's now the right time to do it. So she created the Genius School Young Entrepreneur Academy, right? And by the way, all of these promotion plans are in here, so you can access them over the 5 days. I'll show you how you can get into them, so you can see all about Angie as well. She's the co-founder of Genius School here. This is her team. And she put together this program for young kids. So kids from 9 to 16 years old, using all of our tools and using all of our templates. So we have worked with entrepreneurs to show young people how they can actually get their own business set up and how they can go about creating a job rather than going out and having to find a job. The whole thing happened online. The whole thing was done digitally. So there was no actual physical school that they went to. They came and did the whole Young Entrepreneur Academy online. We had some of our top educators who were part of this, educators who've been working with adults who now were also working with young people as well. She's running these genius camps all around the world as well. The amazing stories that came out of these kids who went through this program, where we've got kids now who've actually created their own businesses. We've got one kid who's built a whole soap business. We've got another kid who's got his own online business. They've all got actually digital online businesses, but Angie, as a result of this, has now launched the whole Genius School. This is like on a track to be $1 million business now in the next 12 months as well. So many, many, many stories in here. Niraj Shah, who's actually going to be one of our presenters on Friday. Niraj had a business, Titan Masterminds, in India. The whole thing was in person. You physically showed up to his office where you got to do his masterminds. That all closed down. Niraj realized that he had quite an expertise in LinkedIn, and he very quickly pivoted to teaching people how to use LinkedIn to get leads. And he just started doing that by coming through one of our programs, being one of our mentors. He generated $25,000 on the back of that promotion. And now he's got this quarterly plan that he's building where he's now got a global business when he was literally just working his business in Mumbai, but now he's got people following him all around the world. So many, many stories here. These are all here. I'll drop the link in so you can access these slides as well as part of the submissions.
And I think one of the really key things here, and these are the distinctions that come out the more that those of you who are on here for the first time or who are newer are in our community, is the distinction of something like Niraj, where he was actually, having CEOs and people at a high level who were paying more for their education, right? They were getting mentored on how to build their business. He already was used to meeting up with people who are spending $10,000 plus on the programs. You can't just create an online digital product that's going to sell for $10,000. But if you have the two things, one, the right marketing strategy on LinkedIn versus on Facebook or YouTube or something like that, so it's a different type of person. And if it's number two, you also have got the step-by-step pathway of how you make it high touch, so you're actually having a conversation with someone, and that's then leading to you knowing exactly what they need, and then for them to say, okay, I trust this enough that I am going to pay the $10,000, right? Like, until you have that in place, you're always going to be stuck wondering why you can't get into fifth gear. And that's a very different strategy for someone who's selling a $100 product, right? So I think that's another really, really important part of this, is the distinctions of what people learn. And the fact that Niraj, he was using his LinkedIn strategy to be able to actually build his Titan Mastermind, but he never thought that that skill set he actually had was the key thing that he could now teach other people. So every one of you listening, there could be something you're doing really well that you didn't even think of teaching other people what to do with that one thing. And that's really where the key to this is how do you actually unlock the real key thing that's the right thing for you as well, right? So you're dropping that link in the chat, are you, Michelle?
Yeah, I'll drop that on the Facebook.
Okay, all right. I'm going to come back to you a little bit later, but thank you very much, Michelle. And what I would love everyone here to do, because I'm really curious about this. I can see a lot of comments going on here. A lot more people have come and joined us right now as well. What I would love is for you to please post what is your niche. Like, so you just saw there Angie's niche was on school children. You heard Niraj's niche was CEOs, first of all in India, but now globally. Now with LinkedIn, he's got a new niche, which is educators, which is why we actually have him as one of our faculty as well. So what is your niche? Would love to hear what that is and what you're focusing at right now. And for some of you, you might actually be pivoting and going towards a new niche, right? And some of you don't know, right? So that's absolutely fine, whatever that happens to be. So here we've got Yvette talking franchises as a niche. And so whatever it is that you have, do post it down, and we'll come back to this a little bit later. And then let's now come over to the next step in this, which is if there are all of these massive changes that are taking place, what do we even mean by Educator 5.0? Like what is different between Educator 5.0 and 4.0 or 3.0 or 2.0? Well, for those of you who've been around our community for a while, you know, even before the pandemic, we were already talking about a big revolution that was coming. This was something straight out of Japan called Society 5.0. And they're the first to really talk about 5.0 because everyone else was still talking about 4.0. But they were saying, no, we're actually already moving past 4.0. They said that and I really love the way that they explained this in this little diagram, which is actually directly from the Japanese government, where at every point when there's been a massive change in technology, it's changed to a totally different way we organize society. So when we had hunting tools, we started getting into tribes. When we had gardening tools, we started getting into villages. When we had factories, we started getting into cities. And then when we had computers, which are connected to each other, we started getting into global communities, right? Like this is what happened at every step. But every one of these also had negatives as well as positives, right? So Industrial Revolution led to a whole bunch of, things like pollution or fossil fuels, traffic. When you get to 4.0, it led to separation, to detachment, to everyone being stuck on their screens. But these things all disappear the moment you lift to the next level. And it was actually in Japan, they were saying, we're already seeing the start of Society 5.0, where you're not going to be looking at a computer screen. We're going to be in augmented realities. We're going to be using sensors, and we're going to be actually having an intelligent field, which allows us to actually connect to each other. So instead of learning by just looking on a screen, you'd be learning by being with somebody, either in person, right, or basically live, and you'd have the opportunity to use technology to be far smarter about personalizing the whole experience with them using AI, using AR. And of course, we're just at the beginning of that, but these companies that are now launching, which are all AI driven, and the ones that are actually personalizing the experience and being high touch as well as high tech, they're for sure going to be the ones that are going to be the biggest companies 10 years from now. And so if you're in this mode of thinking, you're right at the forefront of a brand new way of thinking, which is 5.0. And all of our programs this year are all 5.0. We just did Investor 5.0. Early in the year, we did Marketing 5.0. We're about to be doing Community 5.0 and partner Educator 5.0 coming up in our micro schools. So now is the time to be learning what this is. And if you say, well, what are the 5 elements which make up 5.0? It starts by knowing it's the entrepreneurs that are leading the way here. And it's entrepreneurs that are linking 5 elements together, which really comes right back down to Renaissance man, because we really are going through a whole new Renaissance all over again. And you can see at the bottom here, the legs are high tech and high touch. It's not about having one or the other. Even companies like Amazon are actually out acquiring high touch companies like Whole Foods right now. Google is getting into driverless cars, which is high touch, right? So it's no longer just about online. It's online and offline connected together. And so you have to have a business doing that, especially in education. And we're going to kind of walk through exactly how that works. But also how you then frame this business and your life is about these 3 I's. It's about impact and income, because it's no longer about just making money or just making a difference. You can do both in the same time. And actually all the biggest businesses in the world are actually doing this. So you're measuring your whole education business, not just on how much money you're making, but also how much of a difference you're making. And it's no longer about just doing nonprofits where the only way to really make a difference is make no money, or like just for profit, which means you're making money, but you're not getting a good education. It's about doing both together, which of course happens if students keep coming back again and again. And especially if you have a lifelong pathway, which means you're not just having someone for 3 years for a degree or having someone for, like 5 years at primary school. You're actually having someone that's going to continue to learn with you all the way through your life. And that's very much more the mentorship model. That's like the Aristotle model, where Aristotle was actually the mentor for Alexander the Great through his entire life. And so think about it that way. Do I have a product range which allows someone to always come back and do more with me and allow them to continue to progress? And if not, who do I need to partner with who does have that product range, so that I can always be providing the value to someone who already trusts me and trust the fact that I am able to articulate what is the most effective education for them as well, right? So you can see already, this whole idea of Educator 5.0 is linked to Entrepreneur 5.0. It's about us being able to do all of these things as opposed to making a choice of just doing one or another. And as you will see this week, when we go through this, one of the first things that we want you to do is to be clear on what is your passions, what is your purpose, what is your genius. And this concept of Ikigai, I believe, is at the core of education. Remember at the very beginning of this session, I was talking about this here, which is Seth Godin's manifesto. And Seth, he's really big on this, right? When he started, going through at the very beginning, the subtitle, "What is school for?" is what is the actual purpose of education? And if you think the purpose of education is just to do an exam, is just to get a job, well, then it's a very, very narrow focus. And that's why most schools are having such a challenge trying to figure out what it is that they are actually preparing the children for, if there's for jobs that aren't even there. But if the purpose of education is to ignite your genius, right? If the purpose of education is for each person to actually live in their Ikigai, which is the intersection of what someone loves, their passion, what the world needs, which is the purpose, what they're good at, which is genius, and what you can get paid for, which means you're actually going to get paid money as well, well, then you can't lose, because you're always going to have people that are going to have a personalized pathway where you can't have standardized testing because everyone's Ikigai is different from each other, right? So personalizing towards how someone's not competing against everyone else, but someone's actually growing, progressing, and competing against the best version of themselves and just becoming better every day. That's a totally different way of looking at education. And I know many of you already are thinking this way. The most important thing is how you structure your business to actually make that work. So the fundamental core to this week is about the 5.0 model and applying it now to education. Those of you who've been around know of our cycle, which is called the value cycle. Those of you who are new, you'll be able to pick this up very, very quickly, but it's showing the difference of 4.0, which is about what happened during the last 10 years of online marketing, and how that even compares to 3.0, where in each case, it was talking about creating a funnel. In 3.0, it was a sales funnel where you had to go knocking on doors and get cold leads and turn them into hot leads and then turn them into customers. By the time you got into internet marketing, then it became an online funnel, which was still the same thing. It was just expecting to go out and get a whole bunch of leads and then warm them up and then make them turn into sales. But what we've seen today is with 5.0, you have a totally different way of thinking, which is much more sustainable, because 4.0 will eventually dry up. It will be out of leads. If everyone's shouting for the same customers, people just don't have the attention span to even join your funnel in the first place. So you're going to end up with your entire funnel drying up. Whereas if you actually take what happens with a river doesn't just expect it's going to rain. A river actually is part of an ecosystem where it actually creates the rain, where the first step is the rainmaking, and where the final step is the evaporation. It's the sky creating, right? Like we're actually sky shaping and then rainmaking, and then you then have the river, which is the equivalent to the funnel, but where you're actually enabling every step of trust to grow, from building a community through to your prospects and then through to your customers. And if you really get that concept, that, oh, wow, if I actually have every single day, all these people, like the rain's just falling, all these people are showing up and they're actually wanting to work with me because they already trust me. And at the very last level, it's like, hey, the last part isn't that somebody just becomes a raving fan. The last part is someone actually becomes your partner. They're actually making money from what they do with you. So all of our faculty members all started as students. All our investors all started as students. We don't have to go out looking for investors separately or having to go out and look for faculty separately or partners separately, because as long as we're doing a great job with the students are going to want to actually be purpose-driven and help to actually grow everything that we're doing as well. And in the same way, your best resources are going to be those students that actually come through this pathway too. So when we break this down into the 5 elements, you're going to see that it starts not by trying to get customers or trying to get students. It starts by building a community. And that's where people are paying you time before they start paying you money. So what you're going to be learning tomorrow is you're going to be learning from Suraj exactly how you go about building a community where people are learning effectively for free, but they're learning things in such a way they trust you so much, they want to speed up that process by paying you money so that you can accelerate their time. Right? So this is not about people paying you money to learn something. This is about paying money for the experience. They can get the learning for free, right? You can go to YouTube, you can go on Google, and you can get every piece of learning for free right now without having to try. But it takes time. But if you're an educator, your goal is not to be trying to create content. You should be trying to curate content. You should not be trying to take up people's time. You should be trying to accelerate people's time. So show them how to get to the information so they go, wow, this is exactly what I need, but it's going to take time if they're going to do it themselves. And then you then are able to then provide that additional accelerated process for those who want to go faster, and they're going to be willing to pay you. Just like if you go to a gym, a lot of people can go use the gym equipment on their own, but those who are the gym instructors, those who are the coaches, you want to hire one of those people if you actually want to get to where you want to get to faster, because they have better knowledge, they have better techniques, they have better insights as to what it is that's going to work for you. And so you then go get that person on board, and you're paying them willingly. And in fact, the better you get, the higher, the more you want to pay, because the more you want to accelerate where you're at as well, which is why sports people have coaches for life. And as time goes on, those coaches get better and better and better. Whereas in the current teaching education field of 4.0, you actually run out of your teacher can only learn so much, and then you're off, and you're actually trying to then look for the next step in life based on that education, until you have to then come back and look again and again for new teachers and new communities. So why not build a community around your niche, which actually allows you to then grow that for life. So this here is a couple of slides which actually show the step-by-step of how you actually move people from one level to the next. When Suraj tomorrow goes through follow-on community, that'll be followed on the third day with Dan going through prospects and customers, right? So you're actually going to see the progress here. And then how do you then make sure that that community is working well? You're going to hear from Niraj how you follow this all the way through to high-level programs. And then Michelle's going to bring it all together on the final day. So you don't want to miss any of these days, because each one is a piece of the jigsaw puzzle that pulls all this together. And then all of this then shows up in the mentor slides. And that's where I want to kind of like bring Michelle in again in a moment, because while we do have and don't worry if you look at these slides and go, oh, this looks like there's a lot of work. Actually, once you get into it, you're only doing really 2 slides a day. There's only 10 slides in 5 days. I just made a copy of the submission here. So when you actually do go to this link and you do the download. So when you go in here, and as I said, when you click on the next page here to the start, you'll see that there is a link right here. I click on submit template that says you want to make a copy. I say click make a copy, and then you actually get this thing here, which is your copy, which you can then rename this. So I can say this is the Roger Hamilton one, and then I can then basically go in here, and this is my link, and we'll show you later how you can actually give us the link to this. But you'll see here that in here, after it tells you all the prizes that you can win, it then goes through and gives you the actual steps that you actually can take as well. And I'm not sure if this is the actual same one that you have there, Michelle, because I saw you had one which showed the 10 steps. Am I on the right slide?
A different version there. That's weird.
Okay.
Maybe do a refresh on Genius U, because
They just uploaded it, did it? Well, I'd love for you to just share your screen and share the 10 steps so people can see what, just very roughly, because we don't give all 10 steps right now, but then very specifically the first 2 steps, which are the ones between today and tomorrow that people can already get going on.
Yeah. So when you open up, as Roger said, you're going to have the information here. So do make your own copy, put your own name on, and totally personalize these. Like, we want to see some really good colors and visuals and some good content on here as well. In fact, the more creative, the better. It definitely helps to catch our eyes when we're looking at the prizes. Gives you information about the prizes here. There's the links to the plans that I was sharing before. So you've got all of the educator plans. So there's lots of examples that you can be taking. So you don't have to try and figure all this out for yourself this week while you're listening to the speakers. There's lots of examples, and everyone who has given those plans to me to share, they have said you can plagiarize them. We very much actively encourage copying and pasting. Obviously make it your own, but you'll see there's different niches in there. We've got niches from health, we've got niches from working with young people, niches from working with specialists in the arts. And these are the 10 steps. So the first part, which you want to do today really, is set your plan and define your customer. So you'll see each one has its own slide here with a little explanation of what you do. So this page is a summary, and there's an example. So all the way through, you put an example. This is Bea Benkova's promotion plan from GIFI, which is the Global Institute for Evolving Women. Bea has just followed this process with us now for several years, and her business is just really growing exponentially now. So go in and feel free to use this as an example. Put in the summary of what your overall plan is for today. So what it is that you really want to make happen. So you can see she's put, historically, GIFU has relied on word of mouth as its sole marketing, but with the massive shift in humanity and business right now, we can no longer afford to take advantage of multiple routes to market and have to develop digital pathways. This is to launch our entry-level paid product, the Star Circle, by creating and capitalizing on the digital marketing. And as a result, GIFU will unblock its sales pipeline from its free community to its signature Reclaim Your Best Life. So this is an overall summary of what the plan is. So you can do that. You can put your overall summary in. And then getting really clear on step 2, which is who is your customer? Like who, we call them the customer avatar, like who is your actual customer? What is their identity? What's their age? Where do they live? Who are they hanging out with? What's their potential? How much money are they earning? So lots of questions on here that you can answer. And you can see Bea has gone in here and she's put her ideal customer is called Evolutionary Ellers. So she's given her an actual name as well. She's a solopreneur in her 40s, living in the city. She's active in women's groups. She's been on a personal transformational journey for several years. The more you can describe this customer, the more you can make this avatar really come to life, the easier it is for you to actually go connect with the avatar as well. And then you'll see for each day, we've got a couple of slides in here as well. So whilst it looks like there's quite a number of slides, there's quite a half of the slides at least are examples that you can be copying as well. So do personalize them, do make them your own. I know we're going to go through these 10 steps over these 5 days as well. So yeah, really getting stuck into who your customer is and what their problem is.
Very cool, awesome. And what I will do, because I saw we did have people asking in the chat on the Facebook group, hey, where's the link? So I think if Michelle, we can get someone in the team to in the top of the very top part here, when people are like looking at the top here, like let's update this so we've actually got the link directly into the actual group as well, right? So then everyone can actually go straight into that. Okay, great. So that's going to be the plan, right? Like if everyone already can, and for some of you, you might want to wait a few days before you start completing it, because we don't actually need you to submit until the end of the week. For some of you, you're going to kind of like be following as we go as well. But this whole aspect, first of all, about exactly what you just heard Michelle talk about, which is that there is going to be a step 1 and step 2, right? When it comes to your own slides, which is about, first of all, what is your vision? And then also, who is the customer? This is about creating the North Pole, which is your true north, and then the South Pole, which is your customer. And once you actually got the two, then you can create magnetism, right? So it's about linking those two together as the first steps. And so when Bea went through this, she had to get really clear, first of all, about what it is that she saw for herself, right? Setting your plan, defining the customer, where she was actually saying, well, what is it I want to actually achieve out of this for myself? And then at the same time, what is it that I actually want to be achieving for my customer? Like, who is this person? So that, and remember, customer, the word customer is where we get customized, right? So you say, who is my customer? My customer is the person I want to customize for, that I actually don't want them to just go out there and just be learning from YouTube or from Google. I want them to be learning through me, because I'm going to do a better job than any of those systems are going to do, where someone has to go and figure it out for themselves. And that really is the fundamental key of 5.0, is that people are seeing you as their guide more than seeing you as a source of knowledge. So if you just take that as the base key elements coming forward, and also know that these steps in here, because I've actually given the links also in these slides, so you can find Bea's more detailed notes in here as well. And as you can see from what Michelle shared, you would have seen that those links that Michelle shared, where she said it was a 100K challenge. The reason she's got those is because we do have a micro school that some of you I know have joined, and some may choose to join later, which is where we actually double it up. And it's okay, now you know how to make 50,000. Let's go out and start making 100,000. And it doesn't stop there. We continue on for those that really get it, because every single element of building a 5.0 business is no longer a hit or miss. It's not some black magic. It is very specific step by step that you take to be able to build trust. And I think that I want to finish with that whole concept, that trust is the thing that has shifted more than anything else right now in terms of how people trust. We are at a crisis of trust, where governments aren't trusted in the same way anymore, where authorities aren't trusted in the same way, where even big companies aren't trusted in the same way. So, you know, like we're on Facebook right now, right? And I'm very sure you trusted Facebook very differently 5 years ago to you do today. And so we're all looking for new ways to trust. And that comes from communities, like finding the right people that we trust and that we care about. We're all looking for teachers that we can trust as well. And so there are steps to that trust where it takes longer to build, but there's a process of building it. And the elements that we have here are those elements of saying, well, if I actually was to start by saying, have I got someone's trust enough that they're willing to pay their attention? And then have I got someone's trust enough that they're willing to pay time? And then have I got their trust enough that they're willing to pay me with a decision? And eventually they're going to end up paying you with money. And we see that there is a direct relationship at each one of these that's very predictable once you start actually mapping it out. And that's what we're going to be covering with you this week, so that you can take away the unpredictability in a time in the world where there is so much which is unpredictable. Your job as an educator is to turn the unpredictable and make it predictable. And so with that, I want to finish on this last slide here, and I'm going to hand it back to Michelle. This here is my favorite quote on education from Nelson Mandela: "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world And as Spider-Man's uncle always said, with great power comes great responsibility. So I'm looking forward to the journey ahead with all of you over the week. Back to you, Michelle.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Roger. Like, thank you for kicking off the week, for setting what has been a super powerful context around not just the future of education and what's coming, but what you can actually do about it. And seeing some of those examples has been really awesome. So very excited. We have definitely moved into the trust economy. I know you talked about the value cycle. Suraj is going to go into that in a lot more detail tomorrow. He's going to be actually sharing like the steps that it takes, like how do you actually go from building a following, what even is a following, and where do they come from? What's a community, and how do you build a community? How do you know that someone has really joined your community, is actively engaged, and is ready to become a prospect? So don't miss tomorrow with Suraj. And then obviously we're going to keep building on that as we go through the week as well. It's been super awesome. I would love to hear from you. What's been your biggest takeaway from today's session? Like, what is it that Roger shared? What is it that you heard? Maybe, you know, something for your business. What's been your biggest takeaway? Do drop it into the Facebook chat, because we're going to come and read those all as well. Whether you've been watching us on the live or whether you're catching up on the recording, put in your biggest takeaway. Tell us what you are most excited about as well as we go into the rest of this week. And I will see you all at the same time tomorrow, if you're here for the live, or whatever time you're coming for the recording, at 9 a.m. with Suraj. Roger, thank you so much once again for kicking off the week in such style, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody.